Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. This is part 13 of my Speargun project, and in this video you will see how I made a few more components for the line reel. And one of those components is the shaft that will go inside the spool. But first I want to show you how I made this small piece, which is a cup to cover this area here from the handle. And it kind of reminds me of a motorcycle helmet, and I call it the handle helmet, and will go like this. And now I would like to remind you that if you like this video, don't forget to give a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And now let's watch how I did it. This piece that I call the helmet for the handle, which will cover this area here, I have to drill a clearance hole and cut a counter bore for this screw. But because I'm not using a lathe to make these, just because I don't have one, I first have to drill and tap for a 4mm screw, so I can use this tool to clamp it in the drill chuck. Once I have everything machined to the final shape, using a bigger drill, I'll remove the threads and create a clearance for the screw. So now I'll show you how to do it. Okay, and now I can use this to clamp it in the drill chuck. And now I'll remove 0.5 mm from this top face, and this way I can get these counter bores to the right depth, which is 2mm. Originally I designed it 1mm deep, but I changed my mind because I want to put a washer in between the head of the screw and this piece. And to do that, I first touch on this cutting tool like this. Okay, now I move here and I made these knobs that have a scale. Now I need to move this 0.5 mm like so. And now I can cut it. Now without moving anything, just removing this knob, I'll put this one in. And I'll cut this one. And this way both pieces are consistent. And now using the same setup, I'll machine the outside. Okay, that's the 20mm, that's good. So now I'll remove this one here and do the same with this one. And just to confirm that I'm on size, which is 20mm, okay, that's close enough. And now I flip this cutting tool to cut this bottom side. And now on this side, I'll cut this round pocket for this piece to fit in. And to do that, I first use this end mill to rough cut it. Then I'll finish it using this cutting tool. Oh yes. I'm gonna cut it a little bit more because there's no need to make this too tight. Okay, let's see this. I think this should do it. Oh yes, I'm gonna leave it like that. Using this cutter, I'll put a nice big radius on this top edge, like it shows on the drawing. Okay, I got the radius done, but as you can probably see, the finish is not that great. So the next step will be to sand it smooth to get a better finish. Oh yes, now we're talking. Much better. No more scratches. Very smooth indeed. I end up using 3 different grades of sandpaper. I first used 400, then I move up to 600, and the last grade I used was 800. And the finish now is much better. So now there's only one thing left to do on our helmet here, which will be to make a cutout here on the side, and that's for the handle to fit in. It will look like this. Unfortunately, my homemade cutter is not that sharp, and because the material here is so thin, the cutter, instead of cutting it, it's pushing it away. So I'll try to sharpen it and see if I get a better result. Okay, I think this is it. I want this to have a little bit of clearance. Just trim these burrs. Okay, that will do it. That will do it. Very good. The next and last thing to do to finish our helmet here is to drill out these threads to create the clearance for the screw. But before I do that, I want to show you this on the handle. And for that, I have to first put this washer in. Now the screw. Okay. The handle. And this piece here. Okay, very good. I would say not too chubby. Very good indeed. And now that the helmets are done, it's time to think about making the next piece, which will be this shaft for the reel spool. But this one here is not made of plastic. It's made of stainless steel, and stainless steel is notorious for being tough to machine. So I think this one here will definitely put my drill press / milling machine to the test. So let's see how this goes. The first step will be to turn this diameter to 6 millimeters. Okay, I'm measuring this one more time, and it should be very close to size now. So I'm at 6.1, I said on the beginning that this would be 6 millimeters, but because this has to be threaded, I'm gonna cut a little bit more and make it 5.9 millimeters in diameter. And also, I'm gonna sharpen this cutting tool and try to get a better finish. Okay, measuring this one more time, and I think this will be the last time also. Oh yeah. So I got the 5.9 millimeters, which is great. This took a little bit of time to do it because I had to make very light cuts, otherwise the machine would start to vibrate and would create this chatter. But overall the finish is actually much better than what I expected. I'm gonna make a finishing cut on this step here, and for that I have to adjust the machine depth stop. But since I made these knobs and they have a scale printed on it, it's very easy because I know exactly how much the quill moves when I turn these knobs. So I move this one up a little bit and I lock everything with this one here, so now the quill won't move. Okay, it looks much better now. Before, this face was full of little steps from the cutter moving up and down, but now, as you can probably see, it looks much smoother. So now I'll make the lead in for the die to cut the threads, and then I'll reduce this diameter to 8 millimeters to fit inside the spool. Okay, it's getting close. I'm gonna sharpen the tool to see if I get a better finish, because this one here is really rough. Okay, it goes in. I'm gonna have to sand this down to get a better finish and also to get this on size, because as you can probably see, it's very wavy in some spots from the machine vibrating. So I think with sandpaper I can get this on size. I'm gonna make one more cut and then sand it down a little bit more because it's still too tight and I need to have a little bit of clearance on this shaft. Let's try this again. Okay, I think now sanding this down a little bit will be okay. Oh yes, 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 yes. A little bit of clearance. Very good. So now there's a couple more things to do. One is to cut the threads and then up here make a square like it shows on the drawing. Before I cut the threads, I'm going to cut an O-ring groove here like it shows on the drawing. I'll use the same homemade cutter that I did these ones here, but now I'm cutting stainless steel and I suspect that it may not be able to cut it, but we're going to give her a shot. Okay, time for plan B. As I suspected, this steel is not too hard and it's not cutting, it's just rubbing. So I'm gonna have to come up with another solution. As you can see, I used the backside of a drill to make a new cutter, and this time I heat treat it by quenching it in water instead of oil. It seems to be a little bit harder, but I'm not sure if it's hard enough to cut stainless steel. So let's give this a shot. Okay, it's cutting, but I'm not sure if it's gonna make it. I'll give her another shot. Okay, looks like the plan B doesn't work either. It cut a little bit, but it's dull already. So I have to come up with another solution. Okay, I was digging around in my toolbox and I found this broken top, so I'm going to use it to make another cutter. But I think this time will work because tops are made from very hard steel and that's why they break so easily. So let's give her another shot. Okay, here we go for round 3. A cutter made from a broken top. I don't know, I don't like it. Don't like it at all. Okay, and we're on round 4. And if this one doesn't work, I don't know what will. I'm running out of options here. I have my rotary tool here, and I mounted 2 of these cutting discs. It's still a little bit too thin, but if it works, I can move this a little bit up and down to get the groove to the right size. So let's give this a shot. First, I have to dress these discs. Oh yeah, it's working. It only took me 4 times to find a way to do it, but now there's no turning back. And that goes to say that whenever there's a will, there's always a way to do it. Okay. It only took me 4 times to find a way to do it, but I think this one is working. Very good. The discs are a little bit too thin, so I have to move the quill a little bit down so it makes this groove a little bit wider. But it's working. I'm gonna take these 2 discs out and put only one, because in the middle they're not cutting, and that creates a little bump here in the middle. And this way I can move the disc up and down, and hopefully it will clean up that little bump. Okay, I'm gonna measure this. It should be 5.4 millimeters, and right now it's 5.47, but I'm gonna try the O-ring again because I don't want to take the risk of making it too small and then the O-ring gets loose. Okay. Ooh. Oh, no, I broke the disc. I think I'm gonna leave it like that. I'm gonna take this O-ring out, and because this is working so good now, I decided to make another groove because I'm trying to do my best to prevent water from being trapped inside the spool. Even though this is stainless steel, I know that over time, chances are that this will start to create some oxidation. And the more O-rings I put on this piece, I think the better will be. So for now, I'm gonna replace this disc that I broke and then cut another groove. Now using this 6mm thread cutting die, I'm going to cut the threads here, and that's where this tension knob will be bolted on once everything is assembled. A little bit of cutting fluid. I'm using this drill as a handle so I can have more leverage to turn the drill chuck. Because cutting these threads, it's very tough. This material, it's difficult to machine to start with, and this cutting die, not a very good one either, so that doesn't help. But I'm taking my time here, and it's coming along. I'm pretty much halfway done, so slowly but steady. Okay. I have been checking out these threads and I like it a lot. It took a little bit of time to do it, mainly because the cutting die wasn't a very good one, and also because this is stainless steel and it's a tough material to machine, but very pleased with it. The threads are very smooth, which is a good thing, because this knob being plastic, if these threads were rough, over time they would wear out these threads on the knob. But I think the way they are, this thing will last a very long time. And look at this, it goes in very easily. But the vessel ball, no play at all, which is good. Even though that this knob, it's not to crank too hard, it's good to know that these threads are strong enough to last a long time. So now the next thing to do is to cut a square from this line down so this piece can fit inside this square hole here. Okay, to cut the square on the shaft, I first made this piece and I drilled and tapped a 6mm hole right in the center of the square. And this way I can thread this in, like that. Now clamp this in the vise, cut one side, turn this 90 degrees, cut another side, and repeat that until I get the square done. But before I do that, I have to clamp this in the bench vise and clamp this piece really good so the shaft won't move when I'm machining it. Now I can clamp this in the vise, and I'll use this parallel as a stop, and this way all 4 cuts will be done on the same location. And I have to cut about 1mm on each side to create a 6mm square. Okay, time to measure this, and like I said before, I have to cut 1mm on each side to create a 6mm square, and from my calculations this should be very close to size. The dimension that I'm looking for here, it's 7mm. It's kind of awkward to measure this. Okay. How much I got here? Oh, that's close enough, 7.14. So I'm going to make probably a couple more very light cuts, and then I'll repeat this 4 times to create a square. Okay, measuring this again. Okay, I'm gonna leave it like that. Okay, time to move to the next position. And now for the first time, I can actually measure 2 sides of the square. And I already measured it off camera, but guys, look at this. 604, it's right on size, can't ask for any better. So now there's only one side left to do. Then, time to remove this piece and see if this one fits inside that square hole. Okay, now time to take this one out and see if it fits inside that square hole. Okay, there's a little lip here that I have to remove, and then I'll test it. Okay, does it go in? Okay, a little bit tight. I'm not going to cut this anymore. If anything, I polish it a little bit more, or I open up this a little bit more. But I think it will go in if I press a little bit harder. Yeah, but it's too tight. Because if I put this back on the machine, I will never get it right again. Because to get this, everything squared again, almost impossible. What a shame. So it goes in, but way too tight. I need this to slide in and out. So I'm gonna work a little bit on this. Then I'm gonna cut off this extra material and this piece will be done. And here it is, after about an hour of using this polishing stone to get this little guy on size. And also a little bit of 600 grit sandpaper to get a smoother finish. But remember before how this thing wouldn't go in? Not anymore. In and out with a little bit of play, which is very important. And also on this second reel. Just like that. And now just to give you a very small glimpse of how this works, this piece goes in, comes out on the other side, and now the tension knob, but for now that's it. There will be a time once I have all the components ready to assemble that I explain in detail how this thing works. There's only one thing left to do to finish our shaft here, which is to cut off this extra material. And then to finish our Speargun Reel project, just a couple more components to be made, which is some springs and pins that will go inside these little holes. I have to make one more of these spool shafts, and this one here, I gotta say, very happy with it and how everything turned out, but it took a long time to do it. Mainly because I had to make very light cuts, otherwise the machine would vibrate and the finish was horrible. But after I cut these O-ring grooves using this small rotary tool, I thought about it. Why not instead of using a cutter, using another rotary tool to cut everything. And this may be the craziest idea that I ever had, but I'm going to show you this setup. Here it is, angle grinder, the material, and now instead of cutting, I'm going to grind. Oh yeah, much faster. I'm gonna set up the camera and then show you how I'm gonna do this. Oh well, I don't know what to tell you. I think my crazy idea was the best idea that I ever had. I had to use a little bit of sandpaper to get a smoother finish, but amazing, so much faster. And the finish up here on this step is like, looks like a precision ground piece. So happy with it. I'm gonna do a little bit of lead in here for the die to cut the threads, and then I'll work on this area here and make it 8 millimeters in diameter. I have to change this setup now so I can cut the O-ring grooves and also the threads. But before I do that, I have to clean up the machine and also the workbench, because everything is covered in this dust from the grinder, and this dust is very abrasive, so definitely no good for the machine, which is the only downside of using the grinder to do this work. But it was so much faster versus using the cutter that whatever time it takes me to clean up everything here, it's time well spent. Okay, believe it or not, but I managed to finish the shaft. Look at this. Very happy with it. Very happy. And also, I would like to show you this, because this is the star of the show. Who could tell that a piece of equipment that was basically designed to chop things away could be used to make a piece like this? So happy with it. Well, as you can see, I end up making a couple more O-ring grooves and also make this slot here for a screwdriver, and that will help me line up everything together when it's time to assemble the reel. And I know that on the last video I said that this will be the video that I would put everything together, but it's just not gonna happen. There's not much left to do. There's just a few very small components, and one of those components is these small compression springs that will go inside this knob, but that will have to be on the next video. For now, I would like to remind you that if you liked this video, don't forget to give a big thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I invite you to visit, and if you like what you see in there, subscribe to it, and this way Google will notify you when I post a new video. And also will be a great motivation for me to keep making these videos for you. So for now, I gotta say thanks for watching my videos, and I'll see you next time on Mr. My Videos for You. Bye bye!